I'm getting married. Yes, it's true, there is a woman who I was able to trick into marrying me. And it's a woman, okay? I promise. Actually, it's a long time since someone's like called me a homo sapien down in the comments, so maybe I gotta let that one drop. You finally believe me that I'm straight. Now I know you're super happy for me, you're super pleased, but you might also be asking, what does this have to do with fashion? I thought this was a fashion channel, goddamn. Well, it's because getting married leads to a bit of a dilemma for a fashion YouTuber, and that is that I am staring down the barrel of the most important fit of my life. That's right, the pressure's on. I mean, think about it. I'm guessing a lot of you in my audience are not married, have not been married. If you care about fashion, you are staring down a blank slate of possibilities for where you could go with your potential wedding outfit. Even just thinking about some of the designers I've covered the most over the years, whether it's Balenciaga or Rick Owens or ERD or Japanese archive brands, Eddie Slimane from Dior to Celine to Saint Laurent, yada yada yada. Pretty much every single one of these little nooks and crannies of the fashion I've covered has a completely different style to their tailoring. And that's even assuming that you want to do tailoring. What if you want to do a low-key modern wedding where you're just fitted out in the gnarliest streetwear there is? I'm just imagining somebody getting married with like the LV millionaire like asymmetrical sunglasses and like, I don't know, yeah, big off-white varsity jacket. That would age well, I'm sure. So this video is the first in a series where I'm gonna break down how I'm putting together the most important fit of my life from toe to head, because today we're starting with the shoes, and I'll also make another video in the next few weeks on this channel about the blazer, but then you gotta join my Patreon if you want the video that shows the other pieces, the pants, the undershirt, and the accessories to tie it all together. So if you wanna know like what the full look is, you gotta join the Patreon. You also get access to my Discord, all sorts of cool stuff, other exclusives, join up. But seriously, think about this. I could choose to wear a Balenciaga suit. I own a Balenciaga suit. Not that I want to get married in a suit that has Balenciaga logo print all over it in the pinstripes. That feels a bit, I don't know, like shilly in a way. I kind of want it to be a bit more unbranded than that. But this, it's a very flowy, drapey, oversized fit. I could go for a suit that fits like that. I love Rick Owens. I love Rick Owens tailoring. I could do a Rick Owens suit. I also own a Rick Owens suit with huge, extra long knit sleeves right here. It's beautiful, but I also think it's a bit, I don't know, darkwear avant-garde for what I'm looking to do. I could go classic and clean with a mainline Giorgio Armani suit like this. Just be real dapper and classic tailored, but I don't want to be boring. I could wear an ERD suit. ERD is my favorite designer, but I'm not really interested in spending $10,000 on a suit that in the end is like not that much better than something I could get from another brand for $800. I could do a super skinny Eddie Slimane boy outfit, like smoking suit, you know, with the tapered legs that they grab your thigh like they're a python trying to suck the life out of it, you know what I mean? But that seems uncomfortable. I'm trying to dance at my wedding, I don't know. So what's a man to do? I spent literal months looking for the pieces to put together this suit for my wedding. And it just kind of came together piecemeal. I found like a piece where I was like, I really like that. Let's make that our base. And then just tried to build out around that piece by piece. And what I ended up with is what my best man called a Bloodborne ass fit. And I'm not ashamed of that. I love Bloodborne. I love FromSoft. I have a bonfire tattooed on my bicep. This is not an insult to me, nor did he mean it as one. But I'm just warning you, we're going into Bloodborne territory here. And now is the point in our story where the one, the only,
James Kearns
appears. So, these are the shoes that I'm gonna be wearing for my wedding. We're gonna be looking at all of the details, looking deep at this crazy pair of handmade, custom, one-of-one shoes for my wedding. But first I'll tell you how I found these. So James Kearns, old Jimmy Kearns, is an incredible shoemaker. I actually found out about him a long time ago. I feel like it was maybe during the pandemic, like 2020, maybe 2021. I remember I was just getting into a lot of Rick Owens stuff at the time, and I saw his stuff and I was like, oh, here's another guy doing like leather, more handmade looking footwear, kind of like this stuff I'm into from Rick Owens. And I've kind of watched him from afar since then, but more and more over time, I've appreciated that he's kept this handmade classic style of shoemaking alive, because people don't really make shoes like this anymore. Even Rick Owens, who I initially compared him to, doesn't make shoes like this anymore. Like this right here is quite an old pair of Geo baskets, and they're, you know, even further back there are the Dunks and stuff. But back then, when Rick was making these, you can see the texture of the skin that they were using. It's a really nice, natural leather. You can see the ways that the form has been like manipulated and pulled to make it all fit into the right silhouette that he was looking for. If you go into a store today to go look at a pair of Geo baskets, they don't look like this. They just don't. They look much cleaner, much more factory made, much more uniform, which is awesome for quality control, for scaling as a business, but it loses some of the personality. Whereas these are all personality. These are the twist lace lows from James Kearns. You can probably see why based on the placement of the laces. You've got zips on the inside, and the change that I made, he gave me the option to choose color, material, all sorts of stuff. He was really great to work with. I'm sure I could have made more changes if I wanted to, but I really like this particular style. I like them in black. The one request I made was that he use a super high texture culotta horse skin. I love this stuff. I go crazy with this stuff. Look at that. We'll get deep in there. We'll get deep in there. So, these are the shoes for my wedding. This is what I'm wearing. Now let's check them out. Ladies and gentlemen, these are the Twist Laces Lows by James Kearns. And I know that's like a double plural, but that's what he calls them, okay? And James is a guy, he's been making shoes for a long time at this point now. He's from the UK, although I think he is based in France now. And he just uses the best materials, classic, old school, handmade construction for these. This is like the definition of they don't make them like they used to. So like I said, I'd been aware of James for a long time, so when my wedding was coming up and I was thinking about what shoes to wear, he immediately came to mind. I was like, if I want to do something special, you know, something that lives up to the occasion of a wedding, a once-in-a-lifetime thing, I should have something made for me. So I reached out to him and basically just threw it at him like, bro, I'm getting married. I want some shoes. What do you got for me? And from there, the process was really nice, really personal, back and forth. He invited me to, you know, check out his catalog, see if there was anything that spoke to me. And then again, asked me about the color, the material. I could have chosen, you know, regular horse skin for this. I could have chosen goat, all sorts of stuff. But I went with this. This is culotta. Culotta. It always makes me think of a Dunkin' Donuts culotta. If you remember those, I don't think they make them anymore. So I always feel silly saying it, but culotta. And that is like a very specific treated type of horse leather. It is like the back part of the horse, I believe. It is veg tanned and washed, which actually like shrinks the skin and brings up the texture. So people who are crazy about culotta, this is what they like it for. It's this texture that you see right here. It's kind of creepy, blistery, scarry. It looks like the shoes are a burn victim, you know what I mean? And a nice plus is that they just happen to go beautifully with my Eigengrau wallet that he made for me. So I have always really, really loved this particular type of skin for any sort of shoes, jackets, things like that. So when I saw that he had it as an option, it was a no-brainer for me. And this particular culotta is from a really small, apparently, tannery in Tuscany in Italy. It's like the same area where Guidi does stuff and Mariam, I've never said this out loud, but basically some of the best, most respected tanneries in the world. All right, some of the other details here. Of course, they are called the Twist Laces Lows, and let me get centered up here so you can really see. I hope you can see why they're called that. It's a really, really cool type of cut here. Never seen anything quite like it. And you've got a bigger panel right here, right? And it ends up pushing the laces off to the side From the side here, you get a really nice, almost like Rick Owens, like mega lace feeling thing, because it's like, I'm not used to seeing laces over there. But then on the inside, you get a really clean look, and then straight from the front, this weirdo asymmetrical thing. As you may have noticed, the laces are also leather. I love that. But like, what's the purpose of getting handmade custom shoes? And it is because of the craftsmanship. So James Cairns, he makes these by hand. He makes every pair by hand himself. It's not factory made. And even beyond that, there is very, very little machine work at all on these. So as far as I can tell, the only machine stitching on these are the top stitches on the upper. And that makes sense, right? To get those really clean, polished lines that you see here. And then I found this really, really cool. So you can just barely see some stitches in there. That's so clean. But the holes for these stitches, right, are made by a vintage outsole stitcher. But then he does the actual stitching himself by hand. So as we saw, right, the main material here is the culotta, which is horse, but then it is lined, fully lined, right, in a goat skin. And I think that makes a lot of sense. Like, wow, look at that texture. That is gorgeous. It makes a lot of sense because culotta is thick, it's tough, it's been treated, you know, whereas goat tends to have a natural softness to it. But as a person who's making these, I'm sure it creates some really unique problems because this material has to be insanely tough to work with, right? So what he's done for the toe and the heel counter right back here where things meet is that they're made from leather and they're skived. So in order to reduce like the bulkiness on the backside of the skin, it's kind of like shaved down as far as I understand. I'm not a leather worker, but that's how I interpreted that. So there's just an insane amount of handwork that goes into these, and I'm sure it must be a nightmare to make them, and that makes them cooler, you know? And it makes it worth the money. A couple other things that I think are really cool about these is that you get a really nice, almost like sneakery, puffy tongue right here. We can get a really good look at that goat now too. Oh yeah, that texture is beautiful. But that's really cool and makes them quite a bit more comfortable, I think, than if it was like a stiffer tongue. And then as you probably saw as well, in order to make it much easier to get in and out of the shoes, we've got a zipper right here. And I actually really love how clean this is because the zipper pull, it just sits right within these pieces of culotta that are hanging over it. So it keeps it nice and tight. You don't have a zipper clanging around, right? So it's a Riri zipper, which is great. Like Riri, those are some of the best zippers there are. So again, once you do that, so much easier to get on. And you've also, with the goat skin, got a nice thin little counter here to kind of protect the zipper from catching on any of the nice leather. And he's also got his name right there, pressed into a little strip, which is so sick. And then the outsole, right, is a stacked leather. So these are just like layers of leather, I believe, that are bonded together. But then you can see at the bottom there, that's definitely not leather, right? No, it's not. How sick is this? Especially right there. You can see it so well. That is dope. So what is this? I mean, I think it's like a crepe rubber sole that is applied hot to the bottom of the shoe by hand. As far as I can tell, that's the case. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'd love to learn more about this. And of course, one staple of a handmade shoe, the thing that tells you, oh, this is a good shoe, is when you can really see each of those nails and you can tell it was done by hand. That is gorgeous. And also, like, look at the varnish at the bottom of this with the size 43 pressed in there. Everything about this just slays. Now, if you're considering getting any James Cairns footwear, and I would strongly suggest you do, these are the coolest shoes I've ever owned, and they're all mine and one of one. That makes them even cooler. And they're for my wedding, makes them the coolest. Anyway, if you were thinking about getting some James Cairns shoes, definitely work with him on the sizing. I like measure my foot for him and stuff, and they fit like a glove. They fit perfectly for me. But I would say that is a bit tight because my feet are a little bit smaller, I would say, than a true to size 43, or at least from most brands that I've found. But he also says that over the course of wearing these, they will breathe like a half size out. So they are likely to get a bit bigger as well. So yeah, this might be the Bloodborne-iest part of my Bloodborne ass fit. There is something like horror-esque about the texture of culotta, and I just love the cuts that he chose here, like especially around the size of the shoes. Like he placed them perfectly. This one is maybe my favorite. Like, that is just gorgeous. Rick Owens, eat your fucking heart out, dude. So what purpose do these shoes serve in the wedding fit? What am I trying to do by choosing to have these made and wear these as the shoes for the most important day of my life? Well, without spoiling too much, I would say that the bulk of my look, like the clothing portion, is very much like a Japanese archive-y type of style, which I really love, and I think it works very well, or else I wouldn't have chosen it. But I also wanted to inject a little bit of that avant-garde darkwear thing in there, but I didn't just want to go, find a pair of Rick Owens shoes or whatever. This felt much more personal and much more special to me, and I'm just so glad that I did because they came out great. These shoes are insane. I love like the classic style, the classic shoemaking, but with the dark avant-garde kind of twisted, weird, almost exotic materials like bordering into that territory. So sick. But we've looked at the details. Now we've got to try them on, but this is just a pair of shoes. We're not just going to put on a pair of shoes. We need a fit. We need pieces to wear with them. So let's try something out here. All right, this is fun. We get to build an entire look from scratch here, from literally the bottom up. So these are our shoes, and for pants, I think these will be really nice. These patched 14th edition jeans, with a little bit of a flare at the leg, and all these really nice kind of like woven knit patches, super low rise, great. For a top, let's do some ERD, but not just any ERD, because this is the net assemblage sweater from the brand, and it's insane. And we have like a little bit of color here in this, but it really is a lot of black. So I would like to inject some more color into this look. So outerwear, what do we got? 14th edition. We've already got the pants. Oh, you know what? Yeah. Spanish elegy. Let's do it. All right, I'm excited. I think this is gonna be good. I got high hopes here. But first things first, we gotta put on the pants, and we've got these 14th edition jeans. 14th edition is like one of the most popular, I would say most hyped Japanese archive brands. There's like a relation to this brand in Kimry. I think the creator came from Kimry. And I think it's a step even beyond some of the other Japanese brands that people love, like Undercover or something. So these are just a really nice, really wearable pair of distressed patch jeans, low rise, but with a flare at the ankles, so they just fit really, really well. And normally here is where I would put these shoes on, but we're gonna save those. We're gonna do those later, so let's get our top on. So as mentioned, this is the Net Assemblage sweater by Enfant Riche Déprimé. And this thing is so cool. It's got like these different panels of different types of knit, and specifically it is like a net in different ways. But it has a very like wide neck. There is no collar to it. The sleeves come up kind of short. The body comes up short. It's just a very, very slim and fitted, unique cut. So that means it'll work perfectly with some jewelry, like we can do the ERD serpent bracelet, all of our rings, ERD chrome hearts, this iron cross ERD sterling super long necklace. I think all of this works really well. But now that we have these pieces on, we got the basics on, we can get to the shoes, these stars of the show, the Twist Laces Lows by James Cairns. And these things are just hot fire. They're so good. They're so nice. So the material, it hits instantly. You can see that texture. The light kind of catches on the ridges of the skin in a really great way. But then once you get past the material itself, you get to the craftsmanship and that kind of dark avant-garde handmade vibe. Like the way that the toe is perfectly upturned with the perfect curve. Of course, those twist laces and the laces being leather themselves, the light heel that you've got going on, all of it works so well, and I just think it's pulling this entire thing together. Like, they are not taking all of the attention from the look to themselves, like everything is doing work here, but they just hold their own. They hold down a look. And that's something I wasn't sure about. Like, these could be overpowering, but somehow they're not. So obviously this is like a more streetwear type of application here, and my wedding is going to be a more tailored application, but I love to see that these are versatile because I'm not just going to buy these for a single occasion. Like, I am so glad that these will work for me after the wedding as well. I feel like I'm going to wear them very often. The hard part is going to be not wearing them until then. All right, but actually we still have one piece of this fit, you know what I mean? We got to tie it all together because right now this is looking very black, very dark. We got to get a pop of color in here, even if it is a sort of muted color, because we have the ERD Spanish Elegy leather jacket. This is one of the most valuable pieces I own, if not the most valuable, depending on where the resale value sits at this point. And despite that, despite the price, I have not regretted this purchase once because it works so well in so many applications. And putting it on, I love it, gives it like the racer kind of vibe. And oh, my cat is here. Hey, Griffey, what do you think? Do you like my shoes? Give him a sniff, what do you think? All right, good, he approves, cool. Anyway, back to this jacket. I love the color that it's adding. It is like a kind of wide-shouldered but lightly cropped fit. So you've got a bunch of different and interesting cuts going on here because you've got a low rise on the jeans. So you've got a lot of extra waist there. And then the sweater is a little bit cropped itself, as is the jacket. So all of these things are hitting in very unexpected places, which I love. And you know, I think we could do even better here by throwing in this Yves Saint Laurent Rive Gauche Mombasa bag from the early 2000s by Tom Ford. But I think it works so well with this look right here, and I think pairs really, really well with these shoes. So I'm so glad that there are a lot of great options for avant-garde footwear using things like culotta, goat, stuff like that. But I think James Kieran's is like one of the realest of them all. I think he's doing it right. He's not cutting any corners, and the stuff is just killer. All right, that's the video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. This is a bit of a different video. I don't talk about my personal life on the channel all that often. I keep the two separate, but it felt like the right time to bring them together a bit because it has so much overlap with the content that I make. So I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Check out the other video on screen, and I'll see you next time.